Just very short introduction on my side, and then I'll hand it over to Amanda. Okay. So sharing this screen. Yep, here it is. Let me know when you see my screen. This is the meetup page I shared now. Yep. Okay. So a little bit about our group. It's the Auckland Power BI user group, but these days we still run our meetings online. Maybe we just move to in person and online, like hybrid, sometime soon in the next few months. But still, this meeting is online. Our meetup page is called Auckland Power BI and Analytics. Feel free to join our group if you are not joined already. We have free meetings pretty much every month. Sometimes it happens Wednesday of the month, and sometimes it happens evening of like New Zealand daytime, sometimes midday, depends on like what time we have our speaker available, of course. So this time is better to be lunchtime now because Amanda is in West US and our evening would be quite late. So that's that. Make sure you join there. We have 2 upcoming conferences coming, actually 3. One of them is happening in Auckland next month. So if you are in Auckland, it is called Analytics Friday. Free to join. It's a Friday, 3 tracks: Power BI, AI, and data platform. So feel free to join. We'd love to see you over there. We'll send you all of these links. If you are in US, we have an in-person event coming in Chicago called Data Insight Summit. That is in September. We love to see you all there. And also in Auckland, we have Definity Conference in November as well. That is also coming. So would love to see you in any of these events. If none of these would work for you, we still love to see you in our meetup events like this. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say on my side. Today, we are fortunate to have Amanda, and you probably came across her videos, her blogs. Like there was a very long period of time that every Power BI new announcement was made by Amanda. Now she is too busy to do that. So other people doing that, she's doing a lot of other interesting stuff. She's based in Seattle, been working with Power BI like from the very earliest stages, I would say. Is that right, Amanda?
Yeah, I've been on the team since the Power View days. If people have been around long enough to know Power View, it's on the tail end of Power View, start of Power BI.
Yeah, so since it was not called Power BI, so like before Power BI, let's say. So yeah, that's great to have you here, Amanda. And what we'll do, I'll ask everyone please to mute your microphone during the presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to write it in the chat window. Amanda, if you like us to tell you what questions comes in, just let us know in the middle of the meeting. Otherwise, we can keep them at the end and have the conversation at the end. That's all. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Like as I said, I'm here to talk to you. I'm a principal product manager on the Power BI team. For those who, there we go, sorry. For those who haven't seen me before, like I just said, I've been on the team for about 8 years now at this point. So right before Power BI came around, and I've worked on a lot of different things. I've worked on reporting features, community engagement. I've done the blog. If you have been around long enough, you might have seen me from my maiden name, Amanda Kofsky. Sometimes people recognize that more than my newish married name. So I've been around for a really long time. And today specifically, I'm going to be talking to you about our integrations of Power BI across all of Microsoft. But when we get to the end with questions, if you have questions even not related to the content, feel free to ask them at the end if you're curious about something else about the product. I'll do my best to help. So with that, in terms of the agenda today, I wanted to start off talking about a data culture, because I think it's really important to have this foundation to see how the Power BI team is thinking about this topic, and it's good foundation for a lot of the demos and features I'm going to show. And then once we have that foundational knowledge, I'm going to start going through a lot of different capabilities that Power BI has. We have goals, integrations with Teams, SharePoint, Excel, lots of different things, all around the idea of trying to help you get started with Power BI quickly, you or others on your team who might be new to Power BI, and also to be able to make decisions with the data where you're already working. So with that, let's jump in. So I always like to start when talking about data culture with the question of what is the future of work? As we've all seen over the past few years, there's been a lot of changes in the world. A lot of people are working remotely. We have these kind of meetings remotely, or if they're not remote, a lot of times they're hybrid. And this is part of a bigger trend that we're seeing in the world where everything is just becoming more digital. Processes that used to be done on paper and pencil are now being accomplished in an app or on a screen. And so this really ends up meaning that every activity in action is producing data. And I mean, I'm not talking about just like IoT devices, but literally every single form that we fill out is creating data, and every document we send is creating data, and all of this is being digitized. And as this happens, we're constantly getting updates, our phones are buzzing, notifications are going off, we're constantly consuming data. And whenever we manage inventory, plan finances, help support customers, data is the thing that helps us know what to take as our next action. And all of this data is super important and really does matter because it's what helps us ask the good questions, ask better questions, take better actions. It starts with the same question, the question we always ask pretty much every day: what's the next thing that we need to do? Data helps us identify actions that are the most important to achieve our objectives. If we're starting a new project or making a tweak to something, we have to ask the question, how are we going to measure what the impact is going to be, so we know if we're hitting that objective. Data also helps us know what's not working. So we always have to wonder, like, did this action that we took have a desired effect in the expected time frame? And if not, the question then becomes, should we keep doing that? A lot of times, organizations have been doing the same thing over many years, and we need to start thinking about, like, what changes do we need to make to help optimize our success? And data can help us do that. And then lastly, data helps us focus on what matters the most as well. By having measurable objectives and tracking progress over time, you're able to have that critical thinking, have the space to have that critical thinking about what steps to take next and identify areas that are going to have greater impact. And all of this that I just said is really at its heart what makes a data culture. When data is at the center of every single decision that you're making in your organization, businesses can thrive at that point. And that's what Power BI's mission is, basically, is to help you drive a data culture, empower every single individual and every team to use data for every decision. And it's really key that isn't just true for data scientists or analysts. Information workers need to feel empowered to explore their data and answer their questions as well. It's only at that point, when the data isn't siloed and in the hands of just a few, that you have a data culture. And really, that is why looking at infusing data inside of all of Microsoft is really important. And so, like, a whole section of our team right now is thinking about how to bring BI to all users, empowering everyone to get access to their data. And Microsoft, as many of you probably know, has a whole suite of products that allow you to collaboratively get started collaboratively do your work. So that could be things like tracking things on a list in SharePoint. It could be communicating over Teams and Outlook. It could be tracking workflows inside of List or inside of task apps. Sharing content through SharePoint. All of these things and these products that Microsoft have are all around helping you transform your business. And that's actually where a lot of the work happens. So on Power BI team, if we want to help you have a data culture, we have to think about how can we infuse Power BI into all of these different places. How can we help you bring reporting to those sites that are in SharePoint? How can we help you analyze your list data better? How can we have data right there where you're already, having those conversations and running meetings from? So, this is what I'm here to talk to you about. All of these different ways that we're infusing data into these places that you're already working. So with that, hopefully that was a good foundation to understand, the why behind what I'm about to show you. We'll be moving into some very specific integrations now. And I wanted to start with the Teams and Office Hub. Teams, we're in a Teams call right now. Teams is often the center of collaboration for a company or an organization. You meet there, you chat there, you share content with others. It's where you're, facilitating collaboration with data. And Power BI specifically has a wide variety of features that we integrate into Teams. So, it's as simple or complex as you need it to be. We have ways for you to add reports to conversations. We have a whole Power BI app within Teams. We have reports based off of your Teams data to help you analyze your own usage. Basically, everywhere you work in Teams today, we have Power BI stuff. And so this is actually where I was going to jump into my first demo. So let me pull up my example Teams chat here. You can see right here, I'm inside of Microsoft Teams, the web browser version of it, but it works the same in desktop. And you can see that we have this Power BI app right here. And this basically brings you right into a version of the Power BI service. Basically, everything you can do in Power BI, you can now do inside of Teams without ever needing to leave Teams, which is your hub of your collaboration. You can, we have a good home experience to help you discover content, or, if you're the analyst, you already know what the content is. But if you think about all the consumers of your reports, all the information workers inside of your company, they're not always going to the Power BI service and thinking to go to that website to hunt for things. But an app right inside of the place they're already collaborating, this gives them a space where they can just go and find recommended content, find all the content that you're sharing with them, browse and even create their own content. You can do all of that here and be able to, like, say, click on a report and view it right inside of Teams. And this is a completely interactive experience. Like I said, it is a complete replication of what we do in the Power BI service. But it goes beyond that. We wanted to infuse your all of Power BI inside of conversations as well. So you're able to do things like whenever you share a report, you're in a leadership review, you need to send a link to the report that has, all of your data. Whenever you share a report, we have a nice Teams is smart enough to detect that that's a Power BI report and turn the link into this really nice card that allows users to just see what the report is, where it's located, and also open it up right there. And whenever you click open, it opens it right inside of that Teams app. You can also pin things to meetings, to chats, to Teams groups as well. Whenever you pin things to the content, it's always going to be a permanent place right there for you to be able to pull up in that meeting. And that's super important because you want your meetings to be data driven. If you want your meetings to be efficient, you're meeting about sales or your sales numbers or opportunities, or what is, your plan for the coming month, and are you, meeting or ahead of your objectives, you can just reference right there the report that has all that data for you, and everyone has access to it. So everyone is on the same page. And it's super easy to add these reports to any kind of meeting or chat. You just go to the plus, and then you'll find that there is a Power BI app that will let you, when you open it, it basically pulls up all the reports in your workspace, and you're able to just, or any of the other workspaces you have permission to, you're able to just select a report, hit save, and it adds that report right in to the tab. And now it's completely available for you going forward right there. And then we also wanted to make it really easy for you to understand how you're using Teams. So that interaction goes both ways. We're trying to make it easier for you to consume content inside of Teams, but we also, complete that round trip. How are you using Teams? How is your company using Teams? So we've created within our create page, a whole experience where you can analyze your Teams data. And I'm going to pull up a different version of it that's a bit more interesting. This one is actually my real Teams data. If you're curious, this is how many calls and meetings I'm in every single week. I can see how often I'm sharing audio, sharing my screen, sharing video. Like, I can have the insight that I don't usually share my videos in meetings. So my video is oftentimes a lot lower. So maybe that's something I can do to become more collaborative, start sharing my video more often during meetings. So I'm able to analyze my own activity, but I can also analyze my team's activity as well. It's very common for organizations to have teams that build communities. Like, for example, in Power BI, we have communities of people internally and externally that use the product, and they can interact with us, ask questions. Our support org within Microsoft oftentimes uses Teams to ask the product team questions. If someone filed a ticket for something, you need a quick question about how a feature works, we have teams within Teams that does all of that. And we can actually analyze in here the engagement for those teams as well. So you're able to see how active any group that you have in here is, what's the engagement, how often are posts coming, what are the replies, how many people are getting mentioned. You're able to see all of that here, which is really important if you are an owner of one of these groups, because you want to make sure that whatever space and community you're developing within Teams is being healthy and active. And this is a good way for you to be able to measure that without, again, ever needing to leave Teams. So lots of really good features within Teams. But we also have the same exact app experience is available inside of Meta OS, or also known as like the Office app or the Office Hub. So right here, I'm inside of Outlook. And so I can see my email. I'm not going to open it, but I can see my email. I can see my meetings, but I also have Power BI right there. And so if I wanted to, I could, similar to what I was just showing before of pinning or sending a link in chat, you can also do the same thing in Outlook. So if I click Power BI here and select my report, it will automatically add that same card to the Outlook email, which is going to make my communication more efficient as well. So it's not just going to be a link that can get lost inside of an email. There's a whole card that's going to pop up and make it very obvious. Here's the Power BI report where all that important data is. And if the consumer of this clicks the open button, it will just open again inside of this Office Hub right there in the app. So they're not getting pulled away from their activities that they were already doing. It's a little bit less disruptive, but they can still get that full Power BI experience. So that's another great feature we have inside of Teams.
Question?
Yes, go for it.
You're in Outlook.
Mhm.
You've got the Power BI tab on the left selected. How did you bring up Power BI? Is that in an email or is that separate?
This is an email. I didn't show me opening the email because then you would see all of my emails. But if you just open a new message, it's not shown by default, but there's this little icon down here that lets you add
That's
like an
I
app.
missed. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so when you're in the email, you can just click the Power BI app, and then it will show you your reports and give you a way to add them right in.
Thank you. Now that's on the web. What about the desktop version?
I believe it's only on the web for now. It's I believe this is more of an office thing, but I believe that they're planning on eventually pulling a lot of these web features that they're experimenting with online into the desktop apps. But I don't know that's more of an office decision, so I don't know the timelines for when that's going to happen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see, let me hop back to my presentation now. So that was everything around Teams and Office. Well, the Office Hub and Outlook, more of Office in general to come. So moving on, we also want to make it really easy for you to start building reports off of different Microsoft products data as well. I mean, a lot of Microsoft products, they are rich in data, and we want to make it really easy for folks who are using those products to get started creating content. So we've made this quick report creation experience that allows you in just a couple of clicks to automatically generate a report and start exploring. So this is really meant to be a way to empower, again, those information workers to be able to get started quickly with their data, and hopefully also lighten a little bit of load off of the analysts so they can be focusing on not one-off questions and more around organizational insights. And we've shipped this quick creation experience in 2 places so far, Dynamics and SharePoint. So I'm going to show you both of those. But as I pulled them up, I'm also going to mention that while we've shipped it in, sorry, too many windows. When we've so far shipped it inside of Dynamics and SharePoint and Microsoft List, you can expect that they're going to come in more, experience is going to come in more places in the future. So right now I'm inside of Dynamics. Dynamics, I clicked it a little fast, so I'll go back in a bit. But Dynamics typically has a grid of data in it. It's, if you're using like the Sales Dynamics app, it's going to be a list of all your orders or all your leads and opportunities. These grids of data are kind of like a core component of the app. And whenever you click on the Power BI button that we have there now, what we do is we look at what the exact data that you are looking at and automatically create a connection to it using the Dataverse connector in Power Query. We create a model off of that data and then look at the data and then generate a report automatically for you off of that data again. And then once you have the report, and this is just like a normal Power BI report in a lot of ways, you can, cross highlight to interact with it. We have the filter pane there. But we also give in addition to auto doing a lot of those, more complex steps, we also give you a nice playground here to be able to explore your data without all of the overhead of all the advanced features that Power BI has. So for example, through the auto insights that generates those reports, we've thought that the product field and the units sold field were the most interesting. So that's why they're checked by default. And those 2 fields were used in, at least one of those 2 fields was used in all of the visuals that were generated. But if I'm, as a user, also interested in discounts, whenever I select that, we rerun those insights and come up with new visuals to show you with that extra seed of information you gave us about what you're interested in. And so all I had to do was check what I'm interested in, and Power BI does its best to find interesting stuff related to that. But if you want to go in and do a little bit more refinement, you can also personalize the visual as well. using our personalization feature, you're able to change it to any of the chart types we have, change the axis that's being used or the aggregation type. You're able to customize it on an individual level to get a little bit more refined in terms of what you're looking for. And so this is all like a nice exploration experience for those users inside of Dynamics. And then once this is actually, you guys are lucky, you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek. This hasn't actually shipped yet. It's shipping in the next couple of weeks. You'll be able to also then save this report back to Power BI. So you can pick any workspace that you have permissions to and save this report back. And then at that point, it just becomes a normal Power BI report. You'll be able to use our full edit capabilities, be able to download it to desktop, to be able to, like, you know, if you want to add new tables or tweak the query that we're using, you'll be able to do that as well. You can start off in this nice exploration experience inside of the product. You never even had to leave it. You know, if I close the X, I'm right back inside the Dynamics grid. But then I can still, you know, use this quick start that I had, pull it into the Power BI service, and, you know, go from there and start to learn the rest of the product. And like I said, we have this experience inside of List as well. So this is a list inside of Microsoft List. And here the integration is under this integrate menu. There's a Power BI option that allows you to visualize it. And whenever you click on that, this one opens in a new tab, but it effectively is doing the same thing behind the scenes. It's connecting to the SharePoint using our SharePoint connector, creating a model off of it, automatically looking through the data to try and find some interesting visuals to put on the page for you. And whenever it decides to load, you'll see that it looks pretty much the exact same as the other report did. This one's a little bit bigger because it's a full tab, but it's the same exact experience I just showed. You have the Your Data pane to check in other interesting things. You can modify it to personalize it, etc. But this one actually has a unique thing that I did want to mention. In the SharePoint's case, instead of saving back to the Power BI service like the Dynamics one will soon, this one allows you to publish it back to the list instead. So in SharePoint's case, we really want to make it easy for SharePoint users of a given list to have access to and find all of these reports made off the same list. So if I went back to the integrate menu, these are all reports that I had previously created, or others who also had access to the list previously created and published back. And just clicking on one would end up like opening it in a new tab and allow me to see that same report. So both of these are all around making it really easy for you to explore your data and, you know, share insights with others and just get started quickly. And this is really important because if you think about, you know, the stereotypical user of Dynamics or even SharePoint List, you know, they're not analysts, but this is all data. And so by allowing them to be able to get started and explore their data easily, they're going to become more efficient at their job. They'll be able to find insights, you know, they'll be able to identify opportunities where they need to focus on, or be able to track how their sales are doing and if they're hitting a goal, all with this like really easy, quick integration. And like I said, in the future, no timelines here, but in the future, you should expect to see this visualize option pop up in more places where, you know, data is kind of at the heart of the product and you want an easy way to be able to visualize it. So moving on to the next one. Next is Excel. And let's face it, a lot of users are very comfortable using Excel to do a quick tweak or answer a quick question. And Power BI really has you covered there. We make it really easy for you to combine the power of Excel and Power BI together. And, you know, when I say this, a lot of times people, they get a little confused because they think like, oh, we're moving to Power BI, that means we don't want people to be using Excel. We want people to be moving into Power BI. And that's not the case at all. Both are really powerful tools with very specific use cases that work really well together. So we have, and our integrations there, again, span from very simple things like making it really easy for you to get your formatted data from Power BI into Excel if you just need to make a quick tweak, all the way to making it easy for you to use Power BI as your centralized data repository almost, but be able to analyze that data directly in Excel. So let me show you a few of these features as well. Going back to my window. So starting with the simple one, I'm here in this Power BI report, and this report, in case you're curious, is all around electricity access and access to electricity, but also CO2 emissions. And there's this table over here that basically compares access to electricity, GDP per capita, and CO2 emissions. And let's say I'm very interested in how Asia and Africa are doing at the more country level instead of region level. And then I want to be able to look at this data in Excel. With our latest updates to the export option, you're able to export the table data with the specific layout that you were just looking at. So if I hit export here, and meant to open, not close that. Give me 1 second, I will pull it up. You'll be able to see once I open the Excel file, you'll be able to see that you'll be able to see that the data was exported with the exact format that I was looking at in Power BI with the same pivots expanded. So that whatever analysis that I was doing inside of Power BI, I don't lose that state whenever I'm moving into Excel. So it's really quick and easy to be exploring in Power BI, think, oh, hey, let me see this real quick in Excel, just export and go, and you get the exact same data in the same format. So that was the simple thing. But let's now talk a little bit more about the advanced ones. So so the simple export was great, but let's say that I really want to dig into the details of this data. We now make it really easy for you to also analyze that data in Excel. We've had Analyze in Excel feature for a long time now, but it's always been kind of difficult to use. You've always had to do it from the desktop app. You've had to download an extra thing to be able to use it. But now, whenever you select off of a data set, the Analyze in Excel option will actually create the Excel file for you and put it into Excel Online and allow you to really quickly just open it. And then, so you're okay running the queries. And then you automatically get put into that pivot table experience with the data set that I was just looking at available to me in the fields pane. And so I can see the exact data here. I can, drag in fields, add it to the pivot table, do all the things that I'm already used to doing with pivot tables, all connected back to that same Excel or same data set in Power BI without having to go through the hassle of the previous experience we had before. And you can do the same thing in Excel as well through a different method. So for example, if I wanted to insert a pivot table, I can choose to do that from Power BI. And then a pane will come up that will show me all of the Power BI data sets that I have permission to. And I will be able to connect to it or search for it, or let's just, I think was the name of that. I'd be able to, this one, I'll just do this one instead. I'll be able to make a pivot table off of a same data set that I have inside of Power BI. And this is really important because a lot of times with when using Excel, it can become really easy to have a bunch of different Excel files floating around that all point to, slightly different numbers. The sales number is X in the first file, and then it's like, off by 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 in the next Excel file, and they're all slightly different. By still empowering people to use Excel to munch numbers, but always connected to that central data inside the Power BI, you know that everyone is going to be looking at the exact same sales number, regardless of who makes the file, who is the one connecting to the data. They'll always have that like source of truth. Which gives folks a lot more confidence as they are exploring in Excel. Next up, data storytelling. So oftentimes the people who are making decisions, the decision makers in a company, they aren't in Excel or in the Power BI surface. They're in meetings, oftentimes driven off of PowerPoint decks. And I'm sure many of you have spent a lot of time copying and pasting charts into a deck so that you can tell a story with data. But manually creating the screenshots tends to lead to one, out-of-date data, because that's not going to refresh if it's an image. And then it also doesn't lend itself well to ad hoc questions during a meeting. You spend all this time prepping your deck, being prepared, having all your screenshots of visuals, and then the CEO is in the meeting and he asks you, well, what about seeing it for the Americas region or Australia? What's the pivot there? And you didn't have a screenshot of that. And then you're going to have to say, let me get back to you. And so that's not always the best experience. So what we've done is we've recently added a PowerPoint add-in that's going to allow you to actually embed live Power BI reports into your presentation. So I'm actually going to show you that in the deck that I am presenting. So here's my deck that I'm presenting. I can go in, add a new slide, go in and choose to insert Power BI through the add-in. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me a box where I can paste a URL to a Power BI report. So if I go back to my browser, not this one. If I go back to my browser, there we go. And to take this report, I'll get the share link for it, copy the link, and then go back into PowerPoint. I can just paste the URL in, hit insert, and it will load the Power BI report right here in my deck. It's a component on the page, so you can resize it to whatever size fits the presentation you're giving. Still have all of your notes on the side about it, but then this is a live report, so I can click around. If I go back into presentation mode, you'll be able to see that it's a live report. You can see all the spinnies as it loads for the first time and adjust to the resizing, and I'll be able to cross highlight, use slicers and filters, see tooltips of all my data. It's right there live for me to use during the presentation. I can still have it in the default state I want to talk about, but then if they're like, well, let me look at it from this year, you can just click and there's your slice. But sometimes we also have the ability to because sometimes you don't want that live data. You've already prepped your talk track to a specific number. What you can do is you can use this option called show as image. And what this will do is that whenever you enable it, it basically turns the report into a static image. Now it's static, I can't click on it, all the numbers are frozen, and I'll have my perfect talk track paired to the numbers that I'm prepared for to show to my boss. But then if they do ask that question, I can always just go back and uncheck that and get the live report back. So it has the ability to be dynamically static or dynamic depending on the needs that you have for your Power BI report. And then lastly, I wanted to spend a bit of time talking about our metrics feature that we have. Whatever you call them, goals, metrics, OKRs, everyone has some kind of objective that they're tracking, either at a personal level or at a team's level. And that's where Power BI's Metric Hub comes in. We make it super easy for anyone to just come into Power BI for the first time, start creating some targets and goals, and track those changes over time in a nice, easy to use format. And then you can tie these goals to either manual updates that you make or even existing data points from data sets inside of Power BI to have them automatically update. So let me pull up a demo of this. So here is a scorecard that I've created with Miguel here. Him and I are tracking our sales data and our team's performance in our sales org. And so we've created this nice hierarchy of data of goals here. So, like our main goal is to achieve a monthly revenue of 500,000. To do that, we know there's some sub goals we have to do around, launching all of our products, upselling premium features, etc. So you're able to create those kind of like sub goals for all the steps along the way. And then throughout it, you're able to easily see what's on track, what's behind. You can use these cards at the top to filter in, so you can focus in on the areas that are at risk and you need to focus on. So you're able to do that. You're able to have a nice, easy view of what your progress is. Are you going up or down? Is it red or green? And see trends. And even leave comments. So offline, as everyone on your team is making updates to the goals, if you want to be able to just note, for example, tag someone and say, hey, check out this number. It doesn't seem to be going up as much as it should. You are able to do that right inside of the scorecard. And it's really easy to make these goals. All you have to do is click new metric and you give it a name. You can give it one or more owners. You can give it a value. It can either be a number, currency dollars or percentages, 30% or things like that, or even a categorical value. So if you have 5 different options for something that are not numbers themselves, how many products have we shipped have we shipped this thing, yes or no? You're able to add a yes and a no and have those as options in the drop down for the value, or you could even connect it to data. So if you click connect to data, this takes you to a view of all of the recent reports that you have interacted with. And then you'll be able to select a report that has the metric that you're interested in tracking. For example, let me open up the same report I was looking at earlier. And it will load the report, and then it will allow me to select a chart that has the number I'm looking at. So, if I'm tracking people without access to electricity, I can select this chart and then hit connect. And then it will automatically tie the value of that metric to the number that I was just, looking at inside of that chart. So you set up your current and your final targets. You can set up a status, either manually placing a status on it, or even setting up more complex rules about when status should change, if the value is under or over things. Set a rule to automatically update the status, etc. You can do all that right here. And then once you have that, you pretty much are set a start and a due date, and then that's it. You just save it and you have your goal. And what's really good about that is because we allow you to enter in manually these things, you can come into the product and start setting up a scorecard, even if you don't yet have any data sets with the numbers you're tracking. You can start off manual, later switch to having it based off of real-time data and a data set. And then all of the numbers that you're entering here throughout all the status updates that you do in the future get fed into a data set that's automatically generated for you that backs the scorecard that you can then later build a Power BI report off of, for example. And it's all built in nicely here. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that these scorecards can also be integrated into a lot of other places as well. You can use Power Automate to set up alerts. So if the status changes from on track to behind, you can get like an email sent to you through Power Automate, or you could even have goals automatically created for you. So like if you're in a meeting and you're talking about a new metric you need to start tracking, you can have like a bot automatically through Power Automate type it into Teams that this is the new thing that I want to track. Teams will automatically through Power Automate say, hey, go and add a goal to your scorecard. And then, of course, you can also associate these back into Teams as well, either by chatting with them or even going back to that whole pinning to a meeting. That's actually my favorite integration, is taking these scorecards and actually pinning them to like a chat. So like, for example, a personal example, I have a bunch of metrics I'm tracking for Power BI related to the features I'm working on. I can pin that to my one-on-one that I have with my manager, and then every time we meet, we both have the same scorecard. We're both aware with the same numbers that we are trying to drive and what the status is, and it makes the whole conversation a lot more efficient. So a really great way to be able to take these metrics that you're tracking and pull them in to all the other places, again, that you are already working. And then last thing I'm going to mention is that these, let me go back to my slide. We are also partnering, there's another product, Microsoft Viva Goals, that is all around helping people create strategic org-wide OKR planning. And we are partnering with them so that you'll be able to connect all of the data in Power BI and inside of your scorecards, inside our metrics hub, up to those strategic OKR goals inside of Viva Goals. And so you'll be able to have a nice seamless experience between the two platforms and have everything in Viva Goals being backed by data inside of Power BI. So that's going to be coming in the future. And it's just another example of how Power BI is, backing and supporting and integrating with these Microsoft products that are where you're already working. So that is all of the prepared demos I had for today. If you have any questions about any of the specific ones, let me know.
Thank you, Amanda. It was a perfect presentation. A lot of interesting things, a lot of excitement in the chat as well. Now, Abby and Kim has few questions. I'll get them the mic in a second, but there was a question from like halfway through the session by Dagiana. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. And you mentioned different features and how is the licensing for these features? Like, for example, Power BI in Teams, does it require a special license or like any other features that you presented?
So for, let me look at what I demoed. For everything I demoed, each of the products are licensed separately for the most part. So, like if you're using Teams and using Power BI, you're going to need a Office license that has Teams, and you're going to need a Power BI license to be able to use them both together. Power BI does have bundled license, like E5, for example, kind of gets you literally everything inside of Microsoft. And so, everything just, works seamlessly then. But like if you're going to be creating content inside of Teams, inside of the Power BI app, then you're going to need a Power BI license to do that.
So none of those are, let's say, premium only feature, let's say.
Oh no, I don't think so. I am not aware of any of them being premium features. I did want to mention that the the part that I showed in Cited Dynamics and SharePoint, this feature only does require a license, but only requires like a free Power BI license.
Right.
So I like to mention that because, you know, Power BI does, a lot of Dynamics users don't have Power BI today. And we just automatically, in a lot of cases, assign a free license to the user. We're allowed. When we're allowed to, we assign a free license to the user automatically so that they can, you know, explore their data. So, you know, normal Power BI licensing generally applies here for, you know, Pro.
Yep, sounds great. And Abby and Kim, who wants to talk first? You can just turn on your microphone, ask your questions.
Hi, thanks, Reza. It's a great presentation, Amanda. It's really very informative. I have one question on this thing. See, you have Excel analysis, Power BI analysis into Excel. So is it limited to only Office 365 or is it open to other things as well?
By other things, you mean like non?
Other versions of Excel?
There are. It's not so like the Analyze in Excel option I had, it's not just in the online version. You can connect to it inside of the desktop app as well. There are certain versions of Excel that it is supported on and some that are not. I don't know specifically which Excel versions have it, but we do have a documentation online that I could hunt down with the specific versions, but it is support. Analyze in Excel is supported in both the web app and the desktop app.
Yeah, this is brilliant, actually, you know, access points, but yeah, there are limitations of Excel. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Abby. Kim, do you want to ask a question?
So just a couple of questions, Amanda. It's getting, as you demoed, really easy for citizen developers to create and publish reports now. Has there been any thoughts around having tenant level reporting themes so you can have a level of consistency when they're published?
Oh, so you're thinking like how, like, let's say I'm at work at Microsoft. Microsoft has like a theme that they want all of their reports to be using, and so that's just something that's there by default when you're creating reports. Is that generally?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we have talked about that before. I can't comment. It's not my area, so I don't know how soon it's coming or when it's coming. But it's something we've talked about, I guess is what I can say. It's definitely something we've heard feedback on that, you know, people want that, and it's something we will probably add at some point in the future. But, you know, it's not going to be tomorrow or anything like that. But
yeah,
we definitely heard the feedback.
In an ideal world, that would give you the option for a light theme or a dark theme per tenant, because theme switching between light and dark is always something people want.
Yeah, it's definitely theming in general is an area that we, you know, we support a lot, but there's still a lot to do in that area for sure.
Yeah. Hey, the only other one with regard to the Analyze in Excel, is it ever going to be possible to use implicit measures in the value section? Or will they always need to be explicitly defined in the data set?
I do not know the answer to that question. I am not the PM for the feature, so I don't know the specifics of implicit measures. I assume that it's on the backlog if it's not supported currently, but I'm going to take a note, and if it's not already on that PM's radar, I will make sure it gets added to their backlog. So I will take that action item for you to share that feedback.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. There is also a question from Kevin about analyzing Excel. Is it available on Power BI report server version as well? I haven't tested it myself. I don't know.
To be honest, I don't know confidently, but I don't think so. If I'm being honest, I don't think so, but that's something to look up in documentation.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
But
that
there
is
are-
available, to my understanding, that is available on this.
available. Okay, that's good to know. I mean, you can always connect to analysis services from Excel using that OLAP connector. But yeah, it's good to know that is it built-in possible as well. And Abby mentioned it is possible, so probably it is.
That's a I need to look up the documentation question.
Okay, anyone else has any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh, go on, David.
Hi, Abby. Thank you for your presentation. I was following with interest regarding the email one, hence why it was my question regarding doing it online. And during the presentation, I actually opened up a email on the web, and I saw that the little 3 dots to do the add-ins, but I don't see PowerPoint. Is it regional rollout? Has it been available a long time, or is it still in preview?
So it is in preview. You're talking about this feature, right?
Yeah.
Okay. First,
Now, could I just stop you there? So that little 4 dot, that looks almost like the Viva dot, but it's obviously got 4 dots instead of 3.
this one?
The one that you first clicked on before you, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The apps. This is the Office's apps button.
Yeah, so I don't have that. I have the Viva one, and then I have a 3 dots. That's all I have.
So
That 4 dots I don't see.
got it. So this is something that Office is rolling out slowish. So I think it will depend partly on your region and partly on what ring you are in Office as well, because Office has various like rings of release. It's like fast ones and slow ones. So depending on your ring and how fast Office is moving, you may not see it yet. And if you don't yet, it will be coming. It
Okay.
also is specifically the Power BI one is a preview. So if you also have Office configured so that you don't end up getting a lot of preview features, you also might not see it yet because it is in preview.
Thank you. And the other one was when we're in Teams, and forgive me, I'll just bring up my other Teams window. When you click on Power BI, how did you get that analytics window come up?
The one that let me like analyze my own Teams data?
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
Okay, I can show you how to do that. So that was like if you see on the top here, there are a couple of different pivots under the create one. When that loads, you see 3 options. One of them is analyze your Teams data.
Now I see it. Yes. Gotcha. Thank you. I didn't see that. Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome.
And I remember there was also a question about, is this in Teams Online only, or it is going to be in Teams desktop app as well?
It's in the Teams.
I actually have it on the Teams desktop now. So
yes, it's in
Okay.
both. I just demoed it on the web because I'm signed in my Microsoft account in the desktop, and I'm using a demo account to actually demo it.
Sounds good.
It's hard to demo Teams stuff because I want to show you chats and stuff, but I'm also not allowed to, just show all of the internal Microsoft conversations and things like this. So I was using a demo tenant, which is just why it's in the web, but it's 100% supported in both places.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why my name here is Alex, is because it's a demo tenant.
Right.
I'm not actually named Alex.
Alex, aka Amanda. So any other questions? I think that was pretty much it. It was a great presentation.
I did
Thank
want to
you.
mention, sorry, one thing, since a
Yeah.
couple of people did mention they can't see yet the Outlook thing. We did recently blogged about it. I don't remember exactly what ring it is on off the top of my head, but if you're really excited about it and you don't see it yet, there was a blog within the last month on our blog site, so you can go and read the blog in it. That I'm pretty sure will have information about, you know, when you will see it light up for you, like your region. So
Sounds good. Thank you. So we'll be sharing the recording with you. If we can get slides from you, Amanda, even in PDF format, that would be also helpful. We can attach that. And again, thank you. Wonderful presentation. Thank you for being available in your evening time.
Last question.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just sneak
Go for
in
it.
there. Last question. Could you put a link to the blog in the chat?
yeah, I'll have to pull it up, but I will put a link to
Yeah,
it
like
in
you
the
don't
chat.
have to do it the second, but obviously we can review back to the chat later. But it would be just good to have that link there so other people can see it.
Yep, I will do that for you. And I'll also, Reza, to your question, also share the link to the deck. So you'll be able to share that.
Thank you. Appreciate
I'll do
it.
both of those things.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
I just had a question. Like all the features that you show, are they available if the company only has a Power BI report server, the one on premise, or is for the service only?
Most things I showed is was related to our web service. I don't want to say like it's all of them are only in web, but most of them were for web features,
Mm. Okay.
our service features.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Great.
Aha. In my personal, well, not personal, in my company work email, because I'm an insider, I guess, I have the 4 dots add app. In my Radicad one, I don't. So that was why.
Reza,
So
you need to
I
update
actually
your
have
Reza, you need to up the game.
I need to do something about
so-
it.
Okay, again, thank you. Now I'm a happy chappy.
I'll still find the blog post and so that folks will see it. I gotta find it myself, but I'll put the link in chat.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you
All
everyone
right.
for joining. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks,
Have
y'all.
a
This
good-
is
Thank you,
really good.
guys. It was really
Have a good
interesting.
rest of your
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Amanda.